I was out on the lake, got to, I don't get to get on the lake very often, but I was able to spend most of the day out here a couple weeks ago. And it was funny because I remember when we started managing this lake, it's like, man, I used to have to treat this whole area. I used to have to treat all of this, and it looks really good. So there's pockets of areas, usually it's in the canals where you have a lot of growth. It's warm, it's shallow, it's fertile. Starry stonewort is in the channels, a lot of native plants. So those are the sticky points. Most of the lake though looks really good, and it looks like nothing I remember from 2014. It's almost a different lake. So things are going well. And then I think we tried several times to coordinate a meeting, me getting to a meeting. We missed a couple times, but I think Pat had sent me some questions, some general questions that are on the back that might come up. And I think maybe this may have come from you guys about some of the most common complaints that people call in with, like, we didn't know they were treated. How are we going to know that they treated? My kids were in the water, you know, my pets were in the water. So there's some general questions on the back like that in the answers to them. So that might help you if people come to you and say, hey, I didn't know about this. Yes.
So you just treated like
The
the
6th.
There was no posting of that.
There was in the areas that were treated. So we,
But a couple doors down, they got a post. And it's like,
yeah.
so they were telling me.
So it's,
And why I say that, I don't sprinkle my lawn with the
Yeah.
lake, but many people do. And they're not heating.
I mean, I can't really tell you that, but there's lakes that we've worked on for 30, 40 years. They don't even pay attention to the irrigation restrictions because they left. It's at such low concentrations in the water. For it to be able to affect your lawn with the products we're using, it is almost impossible. It's never happened. So I've been here 22 years. A lawn has never died from someone irrigating from treatment. So
Okay.
I'm not.
I mean, I don't, but I
I'm
just
not
wondered about it because.
It poses a way bigger deal. We are required to post these restrictions. In fact, I was going to mention the swimming restrictions. The products we use don't have any swimming restrictions on the EPA label. So you can go in the water directly after we treat. There's no issues. Your pets, your things. It's at such a low concentration, and it binds to certain receptors on the plants. If you drink it when you're swimming, you're just going to pass it through. It's not going to bind to anything to you. So that's why we post the areas. We have to legally post within 100 feet of where we treat. So we kind of go a little bit beyond that, but we don't want to get crazy with the posting because it causes all of this needless hysteria. So that's kind of the approach there. It would be terrible for me to come out and have to post the whole lake because we treat, you know, some areas and everyone complains about they can't swim, they can't stuff. So we don't want to do that. So hopefully, you know, people have those questions, you can give them the right information or direct them to me, and we'll address that. And that reminds me, something else came up. Don't know if I'm supposed to know about this or not, but the township had posted a notice about the, you know, stay out of the water, where there's vegetation and stuff from the treatment. I had no idea where that came from or where that source was from. But if you think about it, when we do a treatment, you can be in the water when we treat. So why would the plants, if there were plants that came up from the treatment, couldn't have any worse effects than, yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense about, okay, I can see not wanting to have people swim in the cruddy water that there's plants floating in, but it has nothing to do with the treatment. So I don't know where that came from. And I actually looked at it. This lake, we treated just under 3% of the lake area. And it takes 10 to 14 days usually for the plants to even die after treatment. So to post something last weekend that was saying it's because of the treatment was just, I mean, it was putting out something that was not.
I wonder why
Are
they
you-
did it.
Are you talking about on the south end of the lake?
I don't know where it was at. I just saw that the township had put a
Came
post.
up next door, yeah. I actually was
Yeah.
the one who responded after I talked to Steve as to the question that he was talking about, because it's not due to the weed treatment for sure that caused it, but probably it's an algae bloom that causes like an oil skim on the top to begin with. Second thing, there are a lot of weeds, but it wasn't because of the weed treatment, it's probably because the lake went down 12 inches within that warm period. All the new weed heights now became reachable by new crops. We had the most activity on the lake probably as ever with the number of boats during that time frame, and a lot of new crops cut off a lot of new weeds that surfaced on the top, along with all the inexperienced anchor people out there that put their anchors down to drag all the way across the entire area, which wind everybody was, and pull out weeds like we've never seen before from the bottom.
Yeah, it could be several things, and I talked to George about even pine pollen. I get so many calls about pine pollen this time of year because it's just a yellowish film on the surface, and it'll go wherever the wind blows. And, you know, people think it's algae, they think it's all sorts of things, but with the amount of pollen that's been out lately, lakes are covered with that. Even the cottonwood, people call about the cottonwood, it's like, I can't really do anything about the cottonwood trees. So yeah, that was some kind of bad information that could cause, again, some hysteria about the treatments when it just absolutely, I can guarantee anything that happened from over the weekend had nothing to do with the treatments.
Steve,
Yes,
I got a question for you on that. That was just pointed out to me this afternoon. And so I looked it up and like you said, the way they worded it too, it says lake alert, avoid areas with rotting vegetation from lake treatment.
right.
And then you talked about the oil slick and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a little concerned that whoever, and there was no author given, so I don't know who posted it with the township, but I'm concerned that if what you're saying is that that's totally not factual,
It's not.
we address that with the township, I think, and ask them to remove it, because that would be quite concerning to people, I think, the way it was worded and presented.
Somebody should say
Pat,
something.
if you can hear me, Pat, I put a post in there saying just that. I asked them for who or what was their source of information. It came from the social media director here at the township, her new position. She responded to that, but only gave 8 different generic people's names. It could be the operations manager, it could be the fire chief coordinator, it could be blah, blah, blah. You'll see that post also in the Nextdoor app, but it never identified which one of those 8 generic people was the one that gave her the authority to post it.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Somebody needs to talk to them.
Yeah, and I don't know if I should call them. I'm not against calling and saying, hey, I saw this.
I think that would be a good idea because you have more expertise in this than we do, really. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I think that would be beneficial to both LFPOA and people who live on the lake that would have a concern about that kind of thing.
Right, yep, I can do that.
Well, they're blaming you right now for putting an oil slick on their lake. They're blaming you personally, like you went out there with barrels of oil.
It's not the first time. For all sorts of things.
In the middle of the night.
Okay, so with that being dealt with, I'll contact the township. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is that this year I tried to do a program, individual program treatment. There's some people that have issues and some people who don't. Some of the issues get addressed with our management program, some don't. So the people in the problem areas, I sent them a flyer that they could sign up for to pay themselves for individual treatments, where we would come and spray their frontage. Kind of like what you had going beforehand, but I limited it to the canals really for this first year. In fact, Grove Park, some of the areas.
Send it via mail or?
I did it. It went through click to mail, so it came out as a trifold mailing, a sign up sheet, fill it out, send it back with a check, and we'll put you on the list. I've got 12 people signed up, so not a big hit. And again, it only went to people that I isolated out of the mailing list that were on Grove Park or Oh, well, it looks like junk mail too. That's one of the problems with, it's the same thing as the notice that comes, the schedule.
Yep.
It would look exactly like that on the outside. So tried it this year, don't have a big response, but I'll probably do it again next year, kind of refine. I realize I missed some areas. And kind of blanket a little better and see what kind of response we have, because if we can keep those people happy, then they're not coming to you, they're not coming to me. It's like they have an option to do something beyond what the program for the lake is doing. And
We possibly could help with that too on our social media.
yeah,
you know.
I think I'm pretty much, if they haven't sent it in by this point, I'm hoping to treat next week for those, just the individuals.
Okay.
You have some other issues going on the lake with permitting, no use of copper. In May and June, can't use copper anymore out here, so that limits some of the stuff we can do. And there's also fisheries notifications that I have to do now, like every time. I can't, if there was an issue, I couldn't just come treat it tomorrow. I have to give a 7-day notice to fisheries division, have to wait for their approval, yada, yada. So there's more things every year that I have to deal with the permit, but
In seeing the response of members coming in, we have a place where you can talk about your issue. And Long Margaret Drive area is generally a response when we get, well, weed problem. Using that as a measure,
yeah.
just information.
Which one's Margaret? The name.
Big
Sorry.
one on the west side.
West side of the lake,
I'm sure, I'm sure.
From the cove going up to the church.
Across from the
Okay.
golf course.
Okay. Yeah, so, and I can't remember if any of them
if I
got,
was to get a feedback other than the channels that you're already talking about, I would say we hear about weed problems along Margaret Drive. It's not real deep.
That challenge.
They have lots.
That too,
That's
but
a really shallow.
they
channel.
word it differently.
That's a very shallow channel.
There's a sandbar there too.
Yes, there's a sandbar
Mhm.
over there right near the channel.
What kind of cost
Yeah,
per
that's
parcel individual gonna pay?
I can't remember if it was $2.50 a foot or $3 a foot or something.
Front foot, front,
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
and that's for 2 treatments. You know,
Had
one's,
to do it before. We had to do it before.
yeah, I've done
A while
one or
ago.
2 people like years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's all I have. If you have,
I had a feeling we'd talk about this because I saw on social media, everything that's about this oil slick and everything.
Yeah,
So I assumed it would come to a heavier.
and that could have been anything, and I wish like I would have known about it, or if you see something similar comes back up again, let me know, because I'll run out and find out what it is, because there's blue-green algae that will do that, and it coincides with hot weather, and then all of a sudden you have a few cool nights, and it kind of turns the lake over, there's more nutrients, and the blue-green algae will bloom almost all the time. Usually to a degree that you don't see it, but that's something that could very be likely. And it can just be a sheen. It almost looks like someone put oil. Sometimes it looks like paint. I've seen it like turquoise color. It looks like someone dumped paint in the lake or antifreeze or
Oh,
something. So there, it can do some weird things. It could be diatoms. It could be all sorts of things, but it was not leads from the treatment.
wasn't an oil spill.
No, no.
Very good. Does anybody have any more questions for Steve online perhaps?
I just have a comment. I really appreciated Steve getting this notice mailed to my house. Are you doing that to with all of the homeowners around the lake?
Yeah, the treatment schedule.
Yeah, the treatment schedule.
Yes,
For the
Yeah.
other, you know,
yes.
Yeah, very,
Yeah, this is Matt, we got one, yep.
That
Okay.
early.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's excellent. Appreciate that.
I think Mark, you posted on the website too, for us. Where everybody can see it anytime. Improvement down to us.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
if you don't have anything else, maybe it'll be, I think it's been a year or 2 since I've been here. We'll try to.
Steve, do you anticipate a similar program next year?
Yes.
We're in the 5th year of our 5-year program, by the way, next year. It's the last of it. If we want to continue, we'll have to go back to another 5-year program potentially after next year.
Okay.
When should we start that discussion?
Soon as you can,
I think
depending
that's,
on the township.
is that a resolution, George?
Yeah, last year, Tom let me swing it with just because we put it in motion that way.
So that may
I don't
happen.
think you'll have a problem. Again, there's so many lakes just continuing every year with renewals that, unless the people wanted to cut it off, then it's a whole different story, but if they want to continue, it's pretty open.
Yeah, okay.
And we have to do both sides, of course, because our lake is one of the few that's also in the city of Fenton on the south end, and then Tom does all the cooking. And every person, every city resident that's on the lake pays their exact same amount of share that we do as Fenton Township. Just
Okay.
was that Tom working with the city.
Well, thank you very much, Steve.